Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker?
It's good to see you. Listen,
You're a Bitcoin maximalist. You're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Happy Monday. Happy Easter Monday if you celebrate Easter. If not, happy Monday. Still in Passover for another couple days, right? Passover, Easter align like the earth and the moon. You know, I learned recently why Passover and Easter are aligned, because Jesus was doing a Passover in Jerusalem, a Passover dinner. I guess he was having, you know, like a Shabbat dinner, when they went and got him and crucified him. Thus the window of Passover and Easter and the resurrection and all that stuff. Okay, well, that's a little religious. That's a little religious history for the day. Some interesting things I want to talk about. So about half an hour ago, the Artemis 2 crew just went all the way around the far side of the moon and were the farthest from Earth any humans have ever been. And they were the closest to the moon that they were going to get on this trip, like 4,000 miles from the moon, which seems far away, but not when you're in space. But think about this. They were the far side of the moon, the farthest humans have ever been away from Earth. And they had a blackout on the other side. It was intentional. They're making it sound like they had a communications blackout, but it was a planned communications blackout. And there they were, like trying to, you know, explore the other side of the moon history. And let's be honest, hardly anybody's paying attention. It's actually kind of remarkable how little people are paying attention. I think people are like, whatever. So they're on the far side of the moon. Okay. So, you know, it's sort of interesting. 50 years ago, it was literally the biggest, it was the biggest thing in history. I mean, the whole world watched with fascination. And now it's like people barely notice. I mean, it's just interesting to me. Like, how did we get to the point where, you know, I mean, it's been 50 years, right? You'd think it might be maybe a bigger deal for people. And it really wasn't. They were like, whatever, don't really care. Like, not important. I mean, who's really paying attention? People paying attention more to their social media platforms and content creators than they are to like these four people like going farther into space. Remember Star Trek, you know, to go where no man has gone before? Well, technically they just went where no man has gone before, right? No one's been to this far out, the far side of the moon, you know, like what a trippy experience, by the way, too. Can you imagine what it must feel like for them? I mean, they don't care that anybody's watching. They're like, whatever. It's pretty fascinating. But yeah. So I'm just intrigued by the whole thing. Technology, where we are, how it's gotten to this point. It's just absolutely fascinating to me. And I think it's thing that we, again, pay so little attention to it. It's just so on our screens. By the way, am I sticky to those of you who are watching? I think I'm sticky. I think I think my VPN is back to its no good antics and and messing with me. I'm going to try to fix it for a second here. Bear with me. We have good stuff to come. I have my own communications blackout. No, I'm trying to figure out like why I'm a little sticky since I've got good internet connection and good thing. But those VPNs can really mess with you. It's like they want to like cause trouble. You got a VPN, you know what I'm talking about. So, all right. So, what is getting more attention is what's happening in Iran, which again I think is it's interesting to say the least, right? I mean, who knows? Like, are we are we in a war? Yes. How far does this war go? Good question. Like what happens tomorrow? Does Trump bomb? Does Trump bomb the energy plants and basically, he said he's going to reduce them back to the Stone Age. Wow. Okay, that's harsh. Where they belong, as he said, to the Stone Age, where they belong. I mean, look, he's not a fan, right? He's not a fan. And like I said, I don't think he really cares about the Iranian people. I don't think that's a priority for him at all. I think truthfully, he could care less what happens to the Iranian people. I wish that were not true, but I think it is. I don't think it's like whatever, you live, you die. Like at the end of the day, he cares about what's going to be good for him and for for the U.S. I do think he cares about what's good for the U.S., but I think it's not in the way you would think. Like I don't think his priority is making average Americans' lives good. He cares about the big picture. That's fine. I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm not okay that I'm having like, issues with my with my internet speed. That's not making me happy. That's not making me happy at all. Hold on. I'm gonna uninstall this thing so that it goes away. Is what I'm gonna try to do. Try to make it go bye bye. Right, making this the slowest show ever. I'm on the far side of the moon. I might not be able to do this, guys. This may just be a sticky 20 minutes. We may have to live with that. Okay, because I'm in slow motion. I'm like the from the 50s, when it was so slow up there. And like everything's moving slow. Well, right now Rob is moving slow. Rob is moving very slowly on the radar here. I wish I could maybe I block my camera and just give you an audio version of my show because that might be, what you want. Stay on because it causes me many, many problems. So thinking about Iran, like when you really look at where we're at with this is like a really, interesting time in history. Energy prices are up. Trump's doing his usual thing, threatening with, mixed results, right? I mean, he's now moved the deadline on going after infrastructure, power plants to tomorrow. I think they do something tomorrow. Clearly, here's a dilemma. There's no deal about to be made with Iran. I mean, maybe there-ish, but there's not a deal like immediately here that's happening, right? I mean, I think it's going to be hard to make an instantaneous deal. I mean, the hardliners in Iran, right? There's been regime change, sort of. There's been a new regime of even more hardliners built around the Revolutionary Guard that aren't going anywhere. And you're in a hardline Islamic Republic to start with. And wow, man, my computer is just killing me here. Oops. All right, I don't even know if I'm here anymore. I'm back. Did I ever leave? It's a community line people who are going to be even more line. How far will they go? How far will they? How far would they go to, like, suffer? I would argue almost any length. For them, this is a religious journey. It's twisted in the form of power, but it's a religious journey, and they have zero incentive for them to compromise. They're not going to give up nuclear weapon. They're not going to give up power. They're not going to surrender to a democracy or a democratic vote, and they're clinging to whatever they have, and that means an authoritarian cling. They will launch out every opportunity they have. We go after their infrastructure. They will go after the infrastructure in the Gulf states. They'll go after water salination plants. They'll go after energy in their own way. They'll go after oil production facilities because they want to wreak maximum chaos. So if they're going down anyway, they don't really care how many other countries or people or how much of the world they mess up away. This is the dilemma. They're not a rational actor. They're really not a rational actor. They haven't been in 50 years, a very rational actor. So the notion they're going to just back down and open up the strait and give up their nukes, just again, I think we waited a long time to do something that we should have dealt with 15 years ago, maybe 20. But now we're dealing with it. And I think the outcome will ultimately not be that Iran's regime is replaced with a democratic regime initially. I think it will be that their country suffers massive, massive economic losses, kind of goes backward and continues. They still have a lot more missile launchers and stuff than the Trump administration has wanted to admit to, right? And defense intelligence assessments are saying it. They're like, there are plenty of missile launchers still out there. They're still doing them. Now, are they going to do much damage to the U.S. forces? No. They shot down a plane. Okay, that's one. And we recovered the pilots. Remarkable. So they're not going to do a ton of damage. Are they going to be able to inflict regional damage? Yes. And will that have effects on the global economy? Absolutely. They can continue to inflict mayhem in the Strait of Hormuz. They can continue to inflict destruction in the neighboring Gulf states, targeting, again, imagine they go after station plants. Like, man, that's all that water in these desert states. You could have energy shortages. You will see global supply chain breakups. You'll see massive price increases, none of which bears well for the U.S. domestic economy in the short term. And despite what Trump says, it's just going to be a minor blip. If not, it's like Joe Biden saying, the price hikes are just minor, temporary. For most people, they're not temporary. They're not going to be just a week or 2 weeks. They'll have repercussions that last several months at least. And that people are frustrated. They're feeling like things are just getting more expensive again. And honestly, most of the country's not in favor of this war in Iran. They're just not. They really don't see it as a priority, even though long-term maybe they should, and we should have all taken it more seriously for the last 40 years. They don't see it as a long-term priority or a short-term priority. I mean, they see, cheaper energy, better gas prices, cheaper food, better quality of living as their core concerns and threats directly and immediately to the U.S. There's plenty of anti-Semitic people out there, the Jew haters, who want to say we're kowtowing to Israel's demands. I don't think we are. I think we're paralleling them in a national security way that Trump and his team have said, this makes sense for us. Let's just piggyback on what they're doing and, do what we should have done a while ago. Israel's going to do what Israel's going to do. They're not going to wait for us, nor do I think we're just following what they want. I think that's complete bullshit. But I think the U.S. national government, the neocons, see a direct interest in that. Trump turned out to be more of a neocon than a populist, I think, and that's fine. But it's going to have consequences here at home, and some of those consequences are going to be, as I've said before, that I think Republicans lose the midterms. And that will be a big deal because then we'll see more gridlock and deadlock and more impeachments and all these people are just waiting to get back at Trump and dismantle everything he's done and prevent it from happening. So, like House and a Democratic Senate inaugurated at the beginning of 2027, elected at the end of this year. We have a mess, and the timing seems to line up that way. So we're in for interesting political times. Back to the moon. Why do we not care? Why do we not care that we've gone, to the farthest point around the moon? Would we care if we walked on the moon again? I mean, it makes you wonder. I'm not saying nobody notices, but it's really getting minimal attention. Like most people aren't paying attention to where this craft is, watching it, hoping, wondering. It's like, oh yeah, it went up there. It's going around the moon. It'll come back down. Be down in 4 days. Quick news story. People are far more fixated on, say, the issue in sports, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because really shouldn't be the world's biggest issue. But I want to say because I love talking about the trans stuff because it's just fun to me. Shows how absolutely dysfunctional how we process information has become. Megan Rapinoe, who was, the star of the women's soccer team, one of the stars, and she's been very outspoken, anti-Trump. She's not really pro-gay. She's gay, but she's more pro-trans. So the International Olympic Committee implemented a new policy that they said was to ensure fairness across women's competitions, right? So it was pretty simple and straightforward. The International Olympic Committee said eligibility for any female category event at the Olympic Games or any other, IOC event, including individual and team sports, is now limited to biological females, determined on the basis of a one-time SRY gene, SRY gene screening. This policy, they said, was evidence-based and expert-informed. They can conduct the testing with saliva, cheek swabs, or a blood sample. And they based this off a finding at the World Athletic Panel in Tokyo last year that found that, about 50 to 60 athletes with biological advantages, male biological advantages, meaning they were born men, were finalists in the female category in the last 20 years or whatever. So you could say that's not that many, which is what some people are saying. But basically, they found an overrepresentation of people with, finalists who were, put simply, finalists who started out biologically as men and transitioned to be a woman. But here what's fascinating to me, what Rapinoe says. She says it's really horrible what came out from the International Olympic Committee. They announced a new policy that they're calling, I can't even believe that they're calling it this because it has nothing women. I feel like two people who played at the very highest level for every competition that you possibly could don't agree with this and never felt like this was an issue at all. The protection of the female woman's category. And said it wasn't rooted in science and was subjecting women to invasive testing. We already know that biology, as much as we want it to be just nice and clean and tight and perfectly in one category and another, it's not, she said. We know that. So now what we're doing is subjecting everybody, all women and all people who are identifying as women, to this really invasive testing, which to me says like, oh, we're just trying to whittle it down to a certain type of woman. Wow. Stick on that last line, although I'm sticking in slow motion here. We're just trying to whittle it down to a certain type of woman. Meaning the type that's biologically a woman, right? You're trying to whittle this all down to one type of woman. Only the type of woman that's biological woman. So you're trying to whittle it down to that and pull out all the other people who aren't women, who identify as a woman. They're males who identify as a woman. Well, that makes them women. When does the rationale here come in? No, it doesn't make them a woman. It makes them a trans woman. It makes them a male who identifies as a woman. And they can call themselves a woman, but biologically, they're not a woman. Now we're trying to just narrow this down to this narrow little subset of, all of humankind and creation, which was born with males and female biologically. And we're just trying to narrow it down to those biological women, ruling out the women who aren't biologically women, but want to be a woman and identify as one. Why? What planet on, or universe in this case, would that make sense? Yeah. You are a woman if you want to be a woman. Which again, it's like, no, you can be a woman, you can identify as a woman, but biologically, you still got to acknowledge what you are. And if you're going to get rid of that, then get rid of having female sports as a category altogether. Just have one giant category, the category. No men's, no women's, no trans, no nothing. Just everyone's in one. And see how that works out for women, even the trans women. The trans women who didn't generally do super well competing against their biological male counterparts will probably finish ahead of the biological women, but they'll still be way at the back. All the medals will be won by biological men in every single category of pretty much of the Olympics that I can think of. Just about everyone. There might be an exception, maybe shuffleboard or whatever it's called. There'll be no women winners in track and field. There'll be no women winners in swimming. There'll be no women winners in boxing or weightlifting or archery, even maybe in archery, maybe, but certainly even in endurance sport, nothing, which won't be, I guess, in figure skating, right? But usually that's couples, but still, I guess in figure, even gymnastics, it's crazy. It's crazy. Eliminate all categories then. But her view is no, how dare you just limit it to a certain type of woman, the ones that are biologically women. That this is an actual argument still is crazy to me. And she said the committee's framing it as based in science, which it's not. This will ultimately just prevent people from competing within the women's category that they feel like they have an unfair advantage. Meaning men who transition to women will feel bad that they have being made to feel they have an unfair advantage, which they do. And I agree, it is a small percentage of people, but the goal is to accommodate a small percentage of people compete, because that small percentage of people are going to take away awards from a much larger percentage of people. So if you're the girl who grew up competing your whole life and you've just become a young woman and now you want to compete for the highest level and you spent your entire life since 6 doing it, it's a big deal to you if somebody who happens to be biologically a male comes in and beats you. Maybe there's only, a small percentage of them in competitions, but every one of that small percentage will beat the females, the biological females. And all those biological females who work their whole lives for it will get shoved to the side. So I guess Rapinoe's thing is like, it's a tiny number of people. Let them live their lives. Yes, let them live their lives however they want. And if they want to compete in the Olympics, they can compete in the men's category. It's not that complicated. Okay, I'm on slow motion here, so I'm going to shorten this thing up. That's my little rant. Why we don't care about the moon, I don't know. Even I have to admit, I check in on it once in a while, and the images are beautiful. We've lost our fascination with space. It's sort of, I wonder if we'll get it back. I mean, the Katy Perry thing had more visibility because it was a bunch of celebrities going up, and all they did was basically go up to the very lower edge of space. These guys went to the farthest deep space any human being's ever been. Kind of remarkable. Moon is next. Will we pay attention to the moon landing? We'll all be dead before the Mars landing, right? I mean, well, I don't know how long it's going to take them to get there. A while, right? I guess we won't be dead, but years will go by. We'll forget about it, and then it'll come back. It's an interesting time. Back to Iran. I don't know what happens tomorrow. If Trump does wreak hell on all the infrastructure, power plants, all that stuff in oil in Iran, get ready for prices to go through the roof. Get ready for a lot of economic turmoil globally, and get ready for Iran to literally launch every single thing they can at every neighboring state. They won't stop till they're completely gone. And that's like cockroaches. It takes a while, and I'm not a fan of these religious militant leaders. They are evil. They are evil. And the worst evil is people who believe they're religiously zealots, that God, they're doing this for the will of God. Scary, scary, scary. Scary times. Happy Monday. I promise on Wednesday I won't be frozen. Now, hopefully I have David Gockstein back on. My VPN will be permanently uninstalled from this thing. I'm only going to install it when I need it and uninstall it the rest of the time. It just gets in the way. It's just, tech interference. Like I said, I'm coming from the far side of the moon. All right, everybody. We're going to shorten this up so no one has to watch any more of my slow hand movements. But thanks for watching. Lots of interesting things happening. Keep your eye on Bitcoin. It's going to be interesting what it does based on what happens. I think, the price will push back down with the war, with more war. And I think we are in for more war, not less. I could be wrong. Tomorrow they could announce there's a peace agreement. I mean, the peace agreement will be a ceasefire, during which there'll be like 20 days of negotiations for a better peace agreement. So maybe Iran does go for that and goes, look, we want a ceasefire. But all they'll do is use that 20 days to stall, try to, figure out whatever they have left that they can utilize when the war starts back up again, because they're not going to make the terms we want. And you can't let them settle for, okay, fine, we'll let you have a nuclear weapon. Okay, we'll let you have long-range ballistic missiles. Okay, you could agree to let them stay in power, but at this point, I think even that's stupid. It should be like, fine, let's just go all the way. force the election for a Democrat. I mean, whatever, we're doing regime change. Let's do it right. Stop pretending like, there'll be a vacuum. See if the Democratic forces could win it. That'd be the right thing to do. Unconventional, but right. All right, thanks for watching. It's Rob Nelson Live.
Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker?
It's good to see you. Listen,
If you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Down in competition in the ratings graph.